Today we're doing my January 2020 spread. Come on in, welcome to my home. Today we're doing the January spread. It's 2020, and boy did I think things would be different. When I was a little kid, I knew for certain that we'd have flying cars and be living in these high towers with monorails everywhere, and instead we're dealing with things like mason jars and going back to making things out of wood and things again. Who knew? But anyway, so I thought I would do this spread very simply, very easy. It is our first spread of the year. This is sort of exciting. I love setting up the new spread, and I am using my rolling weekly spread in this. You'll see it. But let's get started. Alright, let's turn to our first page of our December bullet journal, which is in my older bullet journal. Alright, we have monthly calendar. Still don't use the monthly calendar. We'll talk about that. Alright, first week, and this is using this has my habit tracker, and yes, I am absolutely loving this habit tracker and the mood tracker. You can see this has been a pretty good month by how high the trees have been growing. I actually really like this layout, that nice little forest theme. I can make the trees as big as small as I want, and you'll notice that on some of these, I have actually even put in some snow when I've had time. But I keep track of everything. That is really nice. And then my sleep tracker and other habits, water tracker. We are on today is the 16th. That's why we only went up to the 15th on mood. So that's where we are with that. Now let's look at the weekly. First week with my to-do list. This is using the Alistair method. Love this. I absolutely love this. That way I can have some of these things which happen reoccurring during the week. I can just write them down once and then put them on the dates that they happen. Oh, this is so wonderful. This is so fantastic. And then other things which happen during the week, I can put those there, especially things for events. Things which do not reoccur, I can put those there. And then, of course, last week, same thing held true, and this just comes up wonderfully. I love this method. This is just such a great method. And then, of course, we are on this week. That's pretty straightforward and simple. Now, of course, we go to the new bullet journal. And if you have not seen my setup for this new bullet journal, you should probably take a look at that. It's going to be in that corner. If you click that eye, it'll take you to that setup. But I have already penciled in everything, so let's get started with this. It'll be really simple, I promise. Nothing difficult about this, but let's get going with this. Now, all of the equipment that I use will be listed down below in the description. Alright, getting out all of my pens, which I had done, but I cleaned it up so that I could do that first little intro part. And I found something which I had not noticed before. These rulers are set up just the way I want them to be. And I'm going to flip this like this so that I can draw a little bit easier with this, or run my lines a little bit easier. How much do I love these rulers? I love these rulers. These are great and fantastic rulers. Let's put in the days of the week. We'll go through Monday through Friday, Monday through Saturday into our monthly calendar. And I will say this many, many times, I just do not write on this one. I don't use this page, and so since I don't use it, I'm just going to put in the big dates so I can see what day of the week things are in. I'm using my brush pen to put in those dates, and I'm using my 0.8 pen to do the lines and the bold letters like days of the week, because I think it looks better. I really honestly do. I think this looks a whole lot better, and it's easy for me to read, and I'll be able to look at this really quickly if I ever do turn back at this page. I know a lot of you are saying, well, why on earth would you have this if you don't use it? And the answer is quite simple. Because this way I can find the start of the month that way really, really easy. And I like being able to find the start of the month when I need to. So there we are. January almost done. January 2020.
There we go. Cover page. Done. We're going simple this time.
Once again, I am using my .8 pen. You'll notice that everything is penciled in, and I do this for a good reason, simply because I want to make sure that I get these things right. I know a lot of people have the ability to just wing it. I do not have that ability. I'm not very good at that. And this time I'm going to get a little bit more creative. You'll get to see that soon. But right now we are using that wonderful ruler. That's actually a triangle, but the cool part about this is it has a raised edge, so I don't get what I got before when I did my I set up the book. I had a problem because it smudged. Because, of course, the ruler was right there where the pen is, where the ink part is. I guess it's felt. And was right there, but this time it was not. And now I'm going to get sort of artsy with this, and which is really unusual for me because I've never, ever, ever, even mildly or remotely thought of myself as a person who could draw, because realistically I can't. The one thing I will tell you which I do not do, and you will see that there are points where I'm like my hands are off screen, it's because I'm searching for pens. For whatever reason, I keep leaving my pens. I don't put them back exactly where I want them or where I need to grab them from. But hey, it's one of those live and learn kind of things, and all of these icons will make sense shortly. But for drawing these, like I said, I'm using my .8. Then to put in the days of the week, I'm also using the .8. Now to write in what each item is, I use the .5, something smaller. I also use the .5 to do the date. So when I would go to do the numbers, I use that .5. Now I thought about actually outlining the month, but realistically there was not much of a point in that, simply because when I use this, I'll just put an X on the date of the day that I do it. So if I do the dishes on the 1st, I'll put an X on the 1st, and so on and so forth. That way I can keep track of when things were. And now the one which sometimes doesn't make a whole lot of sense is the trash, because, trash gets picked up once a week. However, you will know that this month we actually have a holiday in there, so trash does get knocked back a day. But it is there, and it does remind me to make sure that I get that, out there. Now, this is my cleaning schedule, or cleaning chore list, I guess you would call this. And yes, once again, I decide I'm going to do something a little more than just plain and boring. Remember, you don't have to. You can set this up however you want, so I thought I'd draw simple line drawings to help with the identification of what each thing is. And even though I'm probably going to be the only person who ever sees this, it is sort of nice to have something pretty in there. And I'm going to tell you this right now, when we get to do the flip through, I do go in here and I will add some color, simply because I looked at it and I thought, yep, that really needs some color. But I like being able to put down all of these little icons, and then I have them all set up with the same thing. We have C means clean, D is declutter, V is vacuum, and M is mop. And each room gets a set of 3, because just like each room, I clean it, I declutter it, and I either vacuum or mop it. Very rarely do I mop and vacuum the same room. Hopefully you really wouldn't have to. It wouldn't make much sense. Now, the one thing that I did do is I actually put in the date for that week. I did that because I tried it without it, and I made a mistake. I made lots of mistakes. And I don't need a full calendar because I do this every Tuesday. And so not having a full calendar is useful because I just do it the once a week. I really do like that, and it just helps me with everything that I'm doing And it make sure that I get all of those things in there. Now we're going to try my hand at drawing a plant. I don't have words right now. When it comes to drawing things like that, like I said, I'm not that artistic of a person. I can create things, but drawing things that are supposed to look like other things, I have an issue with that. I'm not good at this. And this, of course, is supposed to be my corgi. It sort of looks like a corgi. I'm not horribly disappointed in it, but it looks close enough to my corgi that, yes, Faith should not be upset to see herself drawn in my bullet journal. Now we are just putting in our item and the days of the week, and like I said, we stick with the 0.8 for the days of the week, and then the 0.5 for the smaller things, where I put in the word plants, and then the dog. And now I'll put in the days, so that way I can cross it off and make sure that I know which day each item is. Now, what's also interesting about this is the things which I have that you might not have. You might have other things which you do. I don't know. If you do, put those in there. Have your to-do tracker. The big thing about this to-do tracker is these are things that I have to do. It does not have anything to do with being personal, but it has to do with the things that I do myself. Now my Instagram tracker, you might not have this. These are to make sure that I get my Instagram post put up there, and I like the setup because it does remind me, hey, you need to do this. Now, my system might not make a whole lot of sense to you because you might not be able to tell what it's supposed to be. And I realize that. I'll explain this as we get to it. But the first part about that is just to get all those lines in so that we can divide up the sections. And every time one of those sections is completed, I can put an X in there. And that way I know that, hey, this part of it is all set up and ready to go. Then we will put in our check, making sure I have the idea, the camera, that means I took the picture, the editing, which is the scissors, upload, which is an arrow going up, and the last thing is a postage stamp to mean it's been posted. The file is just going to be the name of the actual file that it was in, because some of them just have numbers, others have names, just depends. Then I put in the day and then the day of the week, so that way I really can keep track of this. And that's important to me because I need to be able to keep track of making sure that I get those Instagram posts up there, because my whole goal this year is to do a post a day on Instagram. Now, my habit tracker, this is really cool. I'm using my brush pen for my writing the words up there. And then I will of course, stick with what I'd been doing before. I am using the 0.8 to write the big words. And I learned something a long time ago. At first I thought, I can't rotate the book. If I rotate the book, nobody will be able to see what I'm doing. But I found that it's more important that I get everything written down so that I can read it than it is for everything else. Now I'll put in my sleep. That's, of course, the moon means sleep, and then next to it is my water. That's my water intake. And we will put in the number of hours, 8+ hours. I don't know. It just worked. 8+ hours in there works well. And I did use the clear ruler to go in there to make sure that things get done. So that is a cool thing. Now that is in there, that is great. And I love making sure that everything is done and where it should be. And I'm going through, as I put in the dates, I realized that, hey, those dates need to be in there in the correct spot, in the correct everything. And the days of the week. And I'm using the 0.5 for this one. I didn't have to, I could have stuck with the 0.8, but I did want to slightly make it smaller. Now I'm going to go through with a 0.05 to just put in Monday so that I can outline the Monday. And that way I can be sure that I know, where the start of the week is. You could then highlight it, just use a different color underneath it or over it, so that way you can tell what day of the week it is, and your eyes aren't going to go across there going, I can't see what's going on. But just outlining that like that just keeps me in that nice frame that I really want it to be in. Now I am marking down with the 0.5 for the divisions of the meditation and the cardio. That way it just looks easier. Now we're into my mood tracker. My mood tracker is sort of nice because this one is going to be very different. I'm using, of course, my brush pen to do the title, and then I'm using the 0.8 to do the days. And then from the days, we're going to get down into the fancier stuff. And the fancier stuff is how you're going to be able to tell what my mood is. And in that, my mood is going to be really easy to tell. You'll be able to tell what my mood is simply by the dot, or the fancier the snowflake, the better my mood is. That's always going to be a good one. So that is sort of cool. From here, we go on to making sure that, of course, once we get all that written in, we are ready to start our next part. And the next part is to put in the icons for the emotions. We'll put in a frowny face, or mad face, a bland face, and then a really happy face for these when we're happy. Now we can get ready and flip to the weeklies. The weeklies are really, really simple setup. Simply because, as I said before, I love the to-do list that I've been doing. And I've been doing this for 2 weeks now. And it is just 2 complete weeks, because we're now into the 3rd week of this. It is just so easy to do, putting in those lines, making sure that everything fits right in there. And then once the lines are all drawn in, I can go around and make sure that we have everything there. Because one of the problems that I do have is sometimes it is hard for me to see the little dots. That's why I always have a little challenge with this. But we will put in using our 0.8. We'll put in those lines in there. Then the 0.8 does the same thing with the days of the week for my to-do list. I will put in my days of the week with my brush pen, simply because I knew I wanted those to be really, really big. Going back to the 0.8 to just put the day of the week in there, because that way I know it's like the Monday is the 6th. I can look at that really, really quickly and see that. Now, I did this time put in the week number, which I'd never done before, but it did come in handy towards the end to know what week we are in. Now I'm just going to, at the very bottom of that, I'm going to put in a little calendar so that way I can just see what week we are on and what dates are coming up, simply because, we really do need to be able to see that. I need to be able to see that pretty quickly, but it doesn't have to be anything huge, and I can tell, oh yeah, next Wednesday is going to be whatever date, and that makes life a little easy. So that makes it very, very simple. But we are on to our next weeks, and this way I can get this done really, really quickly. We're going to speed this one up a lot faster, simply because this is just a repeat of the same thing. It's the same thing going over and over again for the next few weeks. That way I get it all done. And I like to set up for the month instead of just setting up for 1 week at a time, because I do it by themed month, not by themed 1 week. So by doing it that way, I don't have to worry about any of this stuff. It's all set up, and if I do want to put something in there, if that's a week or so ahead, I can. It's done. It's wonderful. Now we are into January. This is technically like the end of January. This is week number 4. And I'm still using the 0.8, which I think gives me a nice thick line. Might try to find a larger pen to give me a thicker line for this, but as of right now, I do not need it. And then, once again, we put in the days of the week and all those things. But you can set this up however you want. You don't have to. You can even make each week so each week is completely and totally different. I just like to set mine up so that they are exactly the same and I don't have to do them completely and totally different. And it works for me. I don't know what will work for you. You have to experiment. That's the biggest thing about a bullet journal is you really do. You have to experiment on all of these things to make sure it works for you. Now we are in the last week of January, first part of February. Wow, that went fast. This month goes really, really fast. With this, we have the final few days, and I like to make sure that my full week is in there, simply because it's just easier that way. It really is. Instead of, having a week, having just 2 days for the week in February, I don't have to worry about that. I can get all those days in there, and we are in week 5. And now let's put in the calendar. And once the calendar is in, I think everything is looking pretty good there. And then I'll outline the calendar, and we are...
Alright, we are all done. Now let's do a flip through of our January bullet journal setup. First we have my January cover page, and you notice I didn't even attempt to pretend that I'm going to write things in on this, because, let's face it, I'm not. It's been a year now. I have never written anything on this cover page, so yeah, I just went really simple. Alright, now my to-do tracker. I'm actually liking this quite a bit. I broke this up a little differently this time. So of course I have my dishes, laundry, trash day. I pulled out my plants and my making sure that I get the dog fresh water and all the food, those sort of things. And I did little icons above them, but I pulled them out into their own. This is a to-do list. This has basically nothing to do with personal items. These are things which should be done. Then I also put in little icons for my room cleaning, for my bedroom, clean, declutter, vacuum, bathroom, clean, declutter, mop, and you can see how that goes across there. Then at the end of the week, changing sheets. Changing sheets is always important. Then I have my Instagram page, which you might not have, but this lets me know that I know what the idea is. I've taken the picture, I've edited the picture, I've uploaded the picture, and then the picture is posted. This will tell me, the file will tell me what the picture is, like either the file name or that sort of thing. I do like my little icons. I'm actually really liking this page. This is cool. Now, my personal things. These are the things which I'm doing, which will let me know these are the habits. So, of course, I have my meditate, cardio, weights, lotion, meds, and then it has the days, and then the amount of sleep that I have, the number of hours of sleep, 8+. That's never going to happen. Never, ever going to happen. And then my water trackers, so I have 1 through 8. 8+ is never going to happen. Then my mood tracker. This one I thought I'd do something different. This one is so unexpected. So what I did is I'm going to have snowflakes. However, the detailedness, is that even a word? The detailedness of the tracker or the snowflake will tell you how good of a day it was. If it's just a dot, really bad day. If it's a detailed snowflake, see how fancy that is? Well, alright, but anyway, you get the idea. It's been a really great day. So that will tell me my mood at a glance really quickly. Now then, my January, now we're into the weeks, and this time I actually put in the week, and yes, we start with week 2 because my December bullet journal ends with a few days of January. That's absolutely okay. So I'm loving this to-do list thing. The Alistair method is wonderful, where I can write it down just like I did in my December bullet journal, and then I don't need that much space over here. And then this just repeats over and over and over again. Like I said, I'm in the second week of using this. Absolutely loving this. We might come back in January and I might not like it by then. Then it ends on February 2nd. That'll be the last week. And we'll then start our new bullet journal. Well, our new monthly layout. Now, there are a couple things I do want to say about this, which is really important. and it shows up here on the most. Do you see that? Do you see there's no bleed through? Unlike my other bullet journals, loving this bullet journal. I absolutely love this Archer and Olive bullet journal.
Okay, my January bullet journal is done. I am going to love this, I am certain. I am absolutely loving my Archer and Olive bullet journal, the dot book that I got. It is amazing. I could color in things and it didn't bleed through. I didn't have to, skip every other page. It is great. Now, I really do love this setup. I did get a little more artsy than I have before. My handwriting still needs work, but we're working on that. We are working on that, but this one I actually am looking forward to using, and just to think, it is, like I said, what is today? The 16th. Today is the 16th. We have less than just a little over 2 weeks. Yeah, just a little over 2 weeks, and I'll be into that bullet journal. Sort of. No, it doesn't happen until the 6th, but you know what I mean. It'll be January by then, and we'll be ready for that bullet journal. I am super excited about this. Well, let me know what you thought about that down in the comments. Don't forget to check my description, because that will have the links to some of the products that I used. This was so much fun, and I might even do a futuristic bullet journal layout. Let me know down in the comments if you'd like to see me do one, and I hope I get to see you again next time. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. You can share it. Don't forget to subscribe and check out the other videos on this channel. I love making these videos for you, and I hope I get to see you again next time.